What is up, Colorado? Welcome back to a new episode of Nuggets and Brews, where we talk to Denver Nuggets and we get to drink delicious Colorado craft beer. I got my good, long-time friend Kyle. He's back for an episode. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, I'm feeling pretty smug today.
Pretty smug?
Pretty smug.
Oh, that smugness is back. You know, after getting bounced, it still hurts, but you know what?
Still hurts.
I'm reeling. We're all recuperating. We're all in the 10-step program of Nuggets playoff disappointment recovery that happens during the summer whenever things like this happen.
You know, it's the off season, man. The off season. You know, once the championship happens and the game's end, the parade happens, it's now the next season.
It's been rough.
So we put the old season behind us and we move forward. And the off season is the ultimate time of optimism. Every team thinks they have a chance in the offseason.
Yes.
But the difference between us and every team is we know we have a chance.
That's true. I feel a lot better now after free agency has kind of, not necessarily slowed down, but it's definitely, the Nuggets had waited quite a lot for things to kind of happen, and initially KCP leaves and there's like this big uproar of like, oh my God, KCP's gone. What are we going to do? The Nuggets haven't done anything for a week. And then we get some Dario Saric news that, he's signing with us. He's leaving Golden State and coming off of, I think he's had a hamstring or something. He had some sort of leg injury. He's come into play for the Nuggets. And also just recently, Russell Westbrook, a Denver Nugget. Who would have thought? Who would have thunken that?
Other than this guy.
So the last time we did a podcast, we were just...
We were spitballing. We were talking about replacements for Reggie Jackson. And literally you asked me, as I said we'd go get a vet. You literally asked me, who would we get? And I just literally looked at you and said, Westbrook. I said, literally first top of my mind, I was like, he's going to be looking for a team that's going to compete. This is going to be one of his last shots to get a championship. And literally, I'm thinking about energy off the bench and what he did with the Clippers last year. And if he can do that here, that is going to be a huge leap on our bench. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, Reggie Jackson or Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I think I'll take the latter. But anyways, we're going to get all into that. Today's show is brought to you by nobody. We got no sponsors, but it's all right. You know what? We're here today at Fiction Beer Company. Awesome brewery. It's up on Colfax in Quebec, kind of in this area. So it's a great place to just hang out. We're out here on their patio. It's raining a little bit, but we got some shade underneath us. So we're all nice and cool. We're having some great beers. It's a great day in Colorado. I do love Fiction coming here. It's good. Most of their beers are great, and they actually make great hazies. Look how hazy this is. I call it the Star Wars beer. What is this?
Never tell me the hops.
It was too long for me to remember.
Yeah, that's a great beer. Super hazy.
It's a great place to hang out. Come check it out. Fiction Beer Company. You're gonna have a great time. And I'm surprised it's kind of empty today. I don't know. Maybe there's like some events.
UMS is going on today this weekend. And there's a lot of stuff going on downtown, so I could see not as many people out. Also, I mean, it's also a weird time of the day for
That's true, but. Usually, every time I come here, this place is packed. So I came in here and I was like, oh, whoa, what's happening? Like, is it closed? But no, they're very much open. And
the beers are good.
The beers are fantastic. So make sure to come, check them out. And you can also find a lot of their beer and major...
distributors. Argonaut tends to carry some of their stuff. Yeah. Different places.
Food, wine and spirits, or whatever whatever the big... liquor store companies are
in Colorado.
Most likely they carry Fiction, so make sure to check them out. Anyways, so today's episode, we're going to be talking about obviously free agency, what has transpired, where the Nuggets look, but also we're going to talk about like the best case scenario for all these new additions, including some of the new draft picks and also the second year players like Julian Strawther. Like, what is the best case scenario for the Nuggets for this year? But also we're going to look at the opposite of it. What is the worst case scenario? But we're going to start with the worst case scenario because I feel like there's more of an upside to the Nuggets for all the new additions and also a lot of these second-year players, and it's just a bummer also with one of our rookies already going down to a year-ending season. Darren Holmes already going down. So we're going to talk about the worst-case scenario first off. But, before we get into that, like we mentioned before, We just got Russell Westbrook, Dario Saric, and also I think we re-signed DeAndre Jordan. So we have a little bit of more veteran leadership in that bench and in that locker room. So that was actually kind of good to see. And I love DJ. Who doesn't love DJ? He's super awesome. He seems to
locker room guy.
He's a great
also,
locker room guy.
We locked up Flacco. We got him on free agency.
Yeah, that was a weird move. He had to. I think they had to restructure it, right?
Well, he basically he got to give up his option, and then we re-signed him.
There was a team option.
Yeah,
they didn't pick it up.
Yeah,
but they were willing to give him another.
And then we gave him another contract.
Yeah,
so
basically at a lower cost.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
but
was another.
But in the championship year, he was a big contributor off the bench.
He was like up until he got hurt, and it sucks.
Well, that was in the offseason last year.
This is like a prove-it year for Vlatko. So, but anyways, let's talk about the worst case scenario for the Nuggets because. I don't think there's going to be that much turmoil because you still have a solid starting five. Whoever steps into that, KCP role, we're going to miss. Obviously, we're going to miss KCP with all the, the contributions that he had for the 2 years that he was here. And whoever steps into that number 2 role, I think they're going to be just fine because you still have Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter, and Jamal Murray. So whoever steps into that, I'm not worried about the starting five. The bench was an issue last year. We talked about it a lot last year. And so I feel like the worst case scenario would be for the bench to just be worse than it was last year.
I see it completely different. I do worry about the starting five. I worry that we lost some shooting on the outside with the departure of KCP because I don't like from all indications Christian Brown that's his role to step into. And I don't see him as the prolific scorer. It's the same type of scorer that KCP was. And he's definitely not the same type of scorer that we had with Bruce Brown the year before. So my biggest fear, to me, the worst case scenario is that our backcourt takes a step back when it comes to scoring production. And mostly at that 2 position. Because we know Murray can score. But he tends to need that partner to move off ball with. And him and KCP had a good thing. So that would be my personal worst case scenario because I don't think the bench can be worse. I actually think the bench with third-year P-Watt, adding Russell Westbrook, adding Sarge, I think our bench actually might be a bright spot this year. And even if they don't pan out, they can't be as bad. It won't be as bad as last year. But my big concern is the continuity on that front 5 and in that 2 guard if we don't get the same production out of it offensively.
Yeah. See, man, right now it's looking a little iffy because we're coming off of such a weird year with obviously, the Nuggets looking super gassed. Jamal Murray just not looking the same as he was like previous years when he was actually healthy. I mean, the worst case scenario that the Nuggets can kind of would have to overcome is like the overall vibes in the locker room because it's these new additions and everything that has like transpired over the last couple of years. I feel like it's going to change the dynamic of like that locker room. And does it become a little toxic because they're trying to recreate something or they're trying to recreate themselves, because there is going to have to be a learning curve again. Because you're having to bring in another person for that starting 5, for the number 2 spot. I think there is some
continuity because Christian did play a lot in that role this year.
Yeah,
and in previous years. So I think there's continuity there. So I'm not so much worried about the locker room. I mean, obviously there is the Westbrook question, right? Yeah. We can speculate how awesome we think he'll be off the bench. We can speculate it's Russell Westbrook, right? It's a guy who's, let's be honest, he's on the backside of his career, but still has proven to be a contributor in this league. But there has been rumors from other places that he's not the best locker room guy. And to me, sometimes, is that the player or is that the situation? Because from what we've seen, is that when players come here to play with Jokic in this core, they tend to be different players. Remember, Austin Rivers wasn't a locker room guy. A lot of people thought he was a kind of like a bad seed in the locker room and turned out to be not that at all here, right? Yeah. It seems like there's a thing that happened. Aaron Gordon, to a certain degree. Aaron Gordon in Orlando, people talked about being a prima donna or being, ego first, doing more than he should and stuff like that. And what we found out is that wasn't who he was wanting to be. That was the situation he was in.
Yeah.
So
it seems like you and I are kind of both on agreement. Like, I think the starting five will be good still. They'll be very efficient no matter who's in that number 2 spot. And I think there's not going to be that much of a downside to the starting five. There's definitely going to be a dip in offensive production. I feel like they're going to be better defensively for whatever reason. Like, I think they're going to have to really rely on.
I mean, I could definitely see that. Like I said, you asked about worst case scenarios. And to me, that would be the worst case scenario, is because what sustained us for the last couple of years is having the most dominant clutch offense. Like, let's be honest, there were times last year, and particularly in the championship year, where we literally were breaking, like, those complex stat records of, like, being the most dominant clutch offense ever seen, right? And also, this year. And also, in those clutch moments, stepping up on defense. Now, if we take a step back on that offense, and also you got to understand the league we're playing in too. That 3 ball is super important.
Yeah.
So
shooting is going to be a definite issue for the Nuggets this year, and that's why I feel like the worst case scenario for the Nuggets is, like, their shooting just gets worse.
But that's why my concern is
because, like, but I still feel like their offensive production is still going to be good. It's just like they're going to have to work a little extra to be able to facilitate those open threes because they're.
I mean, let's be honest. We have MPJ.
Yeah.
If he hits his shots, this conversation is generally mute, right?
I think if he has a better year than he did last year,
and he had an incredible year last year.
Yeah.
I mean, and we could talk about playoff disappointments. MPJ was not one of them.
No,
MPJ was the most consistent player we had this playoff run.
He was super solid up until, like, that whole drama with his brother kind of went down, because it did dip a little bit, because that happened in between, like, the Lakers series and the Minnesota series.
But even in the Minnesota series, those first 3 games, he was the only person doing anything.
Yeah, he was
those
awesome.
first 2 games.
It was those last 2. We were like, MPJ, please hit a shot. We need you.
But at the same time, like, we don't expect MPJ to carry us for a series. And that's where I kind of feel like, he carried us for a second, and now as other dudes' turns to, like. But and to be honest, I don't want to rehash that last game and the last couple of games at all because
it still hurts.
Yeah, it still hurts me. Right there.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's tough to envision worst case scenarios for the Nuggets because they've just been so good, and because you still have Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray.
I think, honestly,
it's just hard to fathom, like, other than injuries, I think that will probably derail, especially with Murray. Him playing in Canada and not having a really offseason, and him being kind of hurt pretty much through all of last year. He's not getting really an offseason. Him getting injured again, I think it can completely, not derail, but, like, really worsen, like, that continuity that we've grown to see, because when Murray went down last year, you kind of saw that dip in production.
Well, we also know that is Jokic's running partner.
Yeah.
But I got a question for you. We're talking about worst case scenarios. How concerned are you that the Nuggets and Murray have not got that deal done yet?
I'm not too concerned.
Okay.
No, I'm not too concerned. There's a lot of red tape happening behind the scenes that we don't know about, and also I don't think Jamal has been in Denver. So
no,
I know both parties have actually been talking, and they've been actually communicating. I think they're trying to figure something out of those little numbers where it'll increase from. Because the Nuggets can only pay Jamal Murray so much, and that's on Jamal. It's not on the Nuggets, it's on Jamal. Like, the Nuggets would have offered him more.
Well, they offered him a supermax pretty much. So, I mean,
and they basically they gave him the most they can offer him based on his recent productivity and based off of, like, his recent performances. Yeah. And not to rag on Murray, but it's like the Nuggets paid him for a year and a half, and they banked on him to come back and be, and so this is the best the Nuggets can offer him. I think it's going to get signed before the season or in the middle of the season. It'd definitely be a talking point. If it goes up until the end of the year, then it's going to be, like, really crunching numbers. And if anything, it could be one of those situations where Murray's like, no, I'm going to hold off on it it's going to be a prove-it year for me. So he might want to increase that, but it's also a big gamble for both parties. So,
to be fair, ultimately,
I'm not worried now.
I think
I will be worried later.
Personally, I think it gets done before before the season. So
Yeah.
I was just trying to gauge your interest. Personally, I don't think it's a big story.
I'm not too worried. It seems like Murray really likes it here, and I think it seems like Murray understands like exactly what not exactly his role, but like I feel like he knows this is like his best scenario to continue winning and to continue like building his own brand and all this other stuff.
He knows too that like it's him and Jokic.
Yeah,
like Jokic can win without Murray. I don't know so Murray can win without Jokic, but he can't win at the level that they win together at. Whereas I feel Jokic can continue to win at that level.
Yeah,
given quality people around him.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is there's not a bunch of like replacements for Murray out there.
Yeah.
But there are point guards that if they came available in free agency and Murray was to leave, that I would be like, okay, if that person came here, him and Jokic would just keep rolling the train.
Yeah.
Because to me, ultimately, it is Jokic that runs this whole thing.
Yeah, he's the one who runs the show. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna adjust this camera real quick because we are outside and it's getting a little darker now. So I'm gonna up the iris on this bad boy. There we go. We're nice and bright now. Okay. So so starting five, I feel like there's gonna be some question marks, but the bench for the worst case scenario is like they're gonna. To me, it's like they're just not gonna mesh all year. That would be the worst case scenario for the bench. Is like they're gonna take like too long, maybe 30 games to kind of figure themselves out, and that's too much. Like that's that would be the worst case scenario where they take so long to kind of mesh, and it costs them too many games. Where that now they're either the Nuggets are like between that 6 and 4 spot, where they're just kind of like they're not necessarily trading water, but they're like not being. And they're not winning at the clip that they're.
So basically, what you're
it.
saying is what I'm thinking is a worst case scenario for us next year is a second round out exit again.
No.
Because that's what I think. If we're in that 4 to 6 spot, that's kind of what we're looking at.
I don't see the. I mean, but
to me, that's the worst case.
Yeah,
so.
a second round exit again wouldn't be terrible. I mean, it would suck again. But like,
but I don't see us being a first round out, and I don't.
No.
And so as I was saying, like, so that's to me, that's the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been talking for a while about all the things that can go wrong. Let's talk about the best case.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna continue to drink some beers. We're gonna take a quick break, and we're coming up next. We're gonna talk about the best case scenarios for the Nuggets, and then we're also gonna talk a little bit about summer league, some of the free agents. We talked about free agents, some of the rookies, and some of the second-year players on the Nuggets roster.
And maybe touch on the Olympics a little bit.
And touch up a little bit on the Olympics. I saw a little bit of Canada against Greece today. That was a fairly fun game. Jamal Murray didn't really look that great, but hey, it's a new team for him. It's a new dynamic. So, yep. So, anyways, you're watching Nuggets and Brews. We'll be right back after this quick break. All right.
Cheers.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Nuggets and Brews, where we talk to Nuggets and we get to drink delicious Colorado craft beer. Beautiful Saturday evening here in Denver, Colorado. We're here in Fiction Beer Company, and we were just talking about the worst case scenarios for the Nuggets. Not too many worst case scenarios. It's hard for us to fathom some bad scenarios. Could happen, but you know what? We love to be optimistic here because we, as Nuggets fans, have had too much bad case scenarios, and we want to be as positive as possible moving forward because we've already won a championship and we just want to continue building. We want to continue building this dynasty, and just recently, we mentioned before, we just got Russell Westbrook. We signed Dario Saric earlier in free agency. So let's talk about the best case scenarios, my favorite, optimism. And I think there's definitely a lot to talk about, and I think there's a lot of upside now that we have solidified our backup point guard, because we've been needing one for quite a while. So what do you think about this signing, Kyle? Like,
I think this is a great idea. I think it brings energy to the bench. And you want to talk about best case scenarios? The best case scenario for the Nuggets is that Dario Saric, Russell Westbrook, and Peyton Watson turn into a freaking monster off the bench.
A dynamic like bench trio.
Yeah, that
would be awesome.
Because you look at the defense of Swatson, as we like to call him in the stands, PJ Swatson, and but also his scoring ability, his ability to get to the rim, the highlight dunks. I mean, I'm seeing so many times either Sarge or Westbrook just lobbing to Pete Watt.
You know, the great thing about that, when you follow a team the way we've been following, like you've seen the progression of the players and the Nuggets have done a great job. I mean, obviously you're going to miss on a few draft picks, but they certainly didn't miss on Michael Porter. They certainly didn't miss on,
Jamal Murray, Nikola
Jokic, Peyton Watson,
Christian Brown, I think has been
and so you've seen like this, progressive of players like getting better and better every year. Peyton Watson, another player, a third-year player, I think he's going to be even better this year. So there's definitely this linear curve of the Nuggets where they just keep getting better every year, and the Nuggets starting five is also getting better. Nikola Jokic, it seems like every year he just keeps breaking records and records. So for me, the best case scenario is like we might finish one or two again. It might, there might come a point where the bench is so unified and they're just have like this great defensive identity of like fast action, because to me the bench is going to be like a quick up and down type, like kind of like those George Karl years where they would like turn the ball over, they would make you turn the ball over, they would just run it up on you.
Between P. Watt and Russell just pushing up and down the court. And having a willing passer in a center like Sarge, a guy who can kind of, obviously nobody can be Nikola Jokic, right? But a guy who can kind of be
give you moments of Jokic-ness,
But, coming from the Warriors, he comes for a free-flowing offense. That's what the Warriors do.
Yep.
So knowing that you have to move the ball and stuff like that, but having ball handlers like Russell Wilson, who's also an assist machine.
Yeah.
And then having the athletic ability of Peyton Watson.
Yeah.
And let's not sell it short. Strawther could take a jump this year, too.
Yeah.
We can get a scoring threat.
He looks so much better this year in Summer League than he did last year. So, he just looked like he knew what he was doing. He understood the Nuggets kind of system offensively.
If the base case scenario is the starting five stays consistent, we don't have too much of an offensive drop-off, but we have a pickup on defense, so our net rating stays pretty much where it's at. And all of a sudden we have one of the best bench units in the league.
Yeah.
Then my best case scenario is not a 1 or 2 seed, it's another one of these.
Yeah.
It's
that's
another
That's ultimately the goal for the Nuggets, and they're still in that mentality, and that's awesome to, I think once the season starts and you start hearing the players talk, they're going to start talking championship again, because that is the continuous aspiration, and it should be. You're loaded, and you've reloaded now with great bench play and some really savvy veterans that I think, especially for Russell Westbrook, he's going to get like that a true second chance to prove like, hey, I'm still productive, I'm still a great teammate, I'm still someone who can help out a team like the Nuggets. Because let's be honest, he kind of got scapegoated on the Lakers. Like he got just ran through the mud.
Everybody gets scapegoated on the Lakers.
Yeah,
trust me.
And then his stint with the Clippers wasn't too bad.
No, his stint with the Clippers saved their season.
It was actually pretty good.
So when they got the whole James Harden thing or whatever, and then you had the injuries or whatever, there was that whole stint where like they could have tanked and they could have dropped into the play-in. All of a sudden the other, and
kept them.
You know what happened was Russell Westbrook had like a 10-game stretch where like. He was old Russell Westbrook.
He was awesome.
And I don't anticipate us needing that for him. No. So if we could get that on just like select nights throughout the year, I'm good for it. And also, if he can be a dude coming off the bench that just runs the other team ragged.
Yeah. I think right now on paper, it looks really weird of like Russell Westbrook and Dario Saric. But because Russell Westbrook is so he's a great cutter, he's a great screen, he does great screens, he's super quick, he's got great handles. I think it works. I think he'll be really efficient with Saric because he's gonna be like, whoa, I can just not have to, I can move without the ball and still get my points without having to.
And also, you're gonna have Strawther also as another ball handler.
I think he's gonna like that quite a lot.
And also, like I said, you're also gonna have the athletic scoring threat and the defensive threat of Peyton Watson. So, to me, one of the biggest things about this whole conversation is we forget that Russell Westbrook's not a scorer first.
Yeah.
That's not the type of point guard he is.
No.
He's an old school point guard.
Yeah.
He's a distributor first.
Yeah.
He's a slasher.
Yeah.
Get to the basket, kick it out, find the open guy. There's a reason why he had multiple years averaging a triple-double.
And
it
also,
wasn't because he was just like holding on to the ball.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a potential for a lot of very exciting plays in that bench unit.
And also, too, people forget, like, Russell Westbrook can get into the lane. Like, he can take you off the dribble. He can get deep in the paint and dish it out to open shooters. I think that's going to be great for the Nuggets. Like, we haven't had that. Reggie Jackson couldn't do that. And whenever he did, it was like, oh, great. Oh, he's taking a bad shot.
Well, that was the thing is Reggie did the opposite, right? So, like, Reggie oftentimes would hold the ball too long.
Yeah.
And then
the times that he would go into
then try to create more of a shot for himself,
Yeah.
and only really share the ball whenever he either had something clear open and cutting, you know, something, or he was forced to give it up. That's not Westbrook's game.
The bench is going to look completely different than it did last year, and it's going to actually have, like, I hope it has a much more aggressive identity than it did last year. Seems like last year they were kind of all throughout the year. That was almost like they didn't quite know what to do.
The only really aggressive person last year on that bench was P1.
Was Peyton Watson.
And to be fair, Reggie Jackson, at times he looked aggressive, but it wasn't true aggressiveness. It was more just oh, let me just volume shoot. We know that Westbrook is going to be a aggressive player.
Yeah.
Like, he is going to be going to the hoop. He's going to be wanting to play a mile a minute. He's going to come off that bench with an attitude. And that's the thing is, I think, but the combination of him, particularly with Peyton Watson, that bench is going to have an attitude.
It's going to be pretty. It's going to be a pretty, like, long, athletic, like, lanky bench.
Right. But they're going to have some attitude because those two are dogs.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Russell Westbrook.
And I think they feed off each other.
And you've heard me say this quite often, like, throughout the years. The Nuggets need, like, a dog. They need, like, someone that, like,
other than Murray,
you know. But Murray does it like in a very cerebral way, like kind of Kobe-esque, where, like, I'm going to talk shit because I'm just killing you. Westbrook is just gonna, like, dirty talk to you, like, whether he's down 10 or whatever, and that's great. The Nuggets need a little nasty. They always have needed a little nasty because, you know, Jokic is just not that type of player. You know, he leads by example in other ways, and he's the leader of the team because of just his greatness. But he's just not that, like, type of player where he's, like, gonna just talk crap to you all game. He's not that player, and the Nuggets have needed that for so long. And the Nuggets have always had, like, this really nice players. You know, they've always, like, Paul Millsap, really nice dude, and, like, great offensive player.
DeAndre Jordan,
like, but
Jeff Green.
We've always needed some nasty, like, we needed some Draymond Green, someone that's gonna, like, get in.
We had a little bit with Marcus that one year.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's true.
But he didn't come back. If he came back, like, if he came back in the 20,
the Marcus year was awesome.
Like, if he come back,
he brought some nasty to the bench.
If Cousins had come back, like that championship year, we would have been even better because like he truly missed out by not re-signing with us that year.
Where did he end up going? Now that I'm thinking about it,
like, he got washed out and ended up, like, in a foreign league, like, really quickly. Like, this was the one place where he could kind of fit in that role, like, kind of like DeAndre did.
I thought it was working great because, you know, the Malone aspect of him, you know, being, you know, on the same team in Sacramento.
And also, he tended to have really good chemistry with Bones.
Yeah.
Before the whole Bones thing went off.
Yeah.
And that maybe that could have, like, he could have been a guy who said, hey, don't be like this because that's how I was.
Yeah.
And now you see, like, me bouncing around. Like, if you want to stay with this team, you know. But at the same time, it hasn't worked out for Bones anywhere.
Yeah, he's still with the Clippers right now.
But he doesn't get any time.
Yeah,
he
might get some time now that Russell Westbrook is over here with the Nuggets, so he might get a little bit more time.
But
however, you know, the one thing I'm really looking forward to for the Russell Westbrook, like, experiment is, like, his attitude, but also his off the court, you know, taking care of his body, making sure that, you know, the film, the preparation, because I don't know if you ever seen Russell Westbrook without a shirt. Homeboy is jacked. Like, the dude, like, he knows how to take care of his body, and I think that's something that Jamal Murray can learn from because it seems like after the championship year, obviously there's going to be like some hangover, but he just hasn't taken care of his body the way he should, and it showed. It has actually showed tremendously, especially later in the playoffs where he just doesn't look himself. So I think that'll play huge dividends. And also, I think Jamal might need someone to kind of push him a little bit.
I think so too.
And I think Russell is like that type of player that
he's
will push your limits a little bit.
He's also that caliber of player that if Jamal's not playing up to Jamal, like
He'll let him know.
well, not just that. I don't think Malone would be shy for going to Westbrook. Like if need be.
Yeah.
Now, we know that there's actually one personality conflict that has to be resolved. How soon into the season do you think there's going to be a big shining moment where Westbrook and Rocky make up?
Oh man, that'll be awesome. You know, it'd be funny if he blocks the shot again.
But you know, there's so much bad blood. They've got into fights.
There is.
Like he's
A lot
like
of
this
people are good for
generation's
that.
Chuck.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Oh yeah, the block shots on the backwards, but it wasn't just that. It was like all kinds of stuff he's gotten into with Rocky.
I think that'll be such a heartwarming moment whenever they'll like
it has
dab each other
it has
out.
to be like first game, right?
I think the Nuggets crowd will just go absolutely ballistic when they see Russell Westbrook just dabbing up like Rocky, and they're just like hugging it out.
Right.
I think that'll be like the best moment of like the starting of the season. But no, man, it's there's just like there's so much to look forward to because the first couple weeks of free agency we're like, oh my god, the Nuggets haven't done anything, but now it seems like there's some things happening, and it seems like now we have a good crew, and I think we're moving in the right direction. There seems to be a plan now. Whether it's good or not, I think at least there's a plan. So great that we finally have a backup point guard, and and also a backup center. Even though Darius Saric is coming back from injury, I think he's still going to be incredibly efficient. The dude can score. He's got great footwork. He's smart. He's a good passer. He's an underrated passer.
We're no worse off than we were last year. Our only backup centers were Zeke Naji and DeAndre Jordan.
I think we can
now we have Zeke Naji, DeAndre Jordan, and Sarge.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like we're actually in a better position at that position.
Yeah.
Regardless.
And also, I feel like we now can actually play a little bit more of the style of Jokic, being, going through a little bit more of the center, facilitating through the center, because last year we didn't really have anybody like that. And even in the Zeke Najee minutes, they just did not look right. It just did.
Well, that's why I'm excited about the combination of him and Westbrook.
Yeah.
Because now you have two distributors in that second unit, which is kind of like what we have in the first unit. You have multiple distributors, right?
2.0.
Well, it's not even Jokic Murray, but in the front unit, in the starting five, we have multiple distributors. Now, it centers around that Jokic Murray 2 game, but Aaron Gordon distributes the ball, MPJ distributes the ball. Everybody on that starting five knows that the best play is to get it to the open guys.
Yeah. No, there's definitely going to be a little bit of a learning curve because the Nuggets do run this very intricate system of like read and react, but Darius Saric and both Russell Westbrook are really smart players, so I think they'll catch on incredibly quickly. And the offense isn't that different from Golden State, as you mentioned earlier. And also, I think Russell Westbrook is going to be a great fit just because of like his style of play and how aggressive he is. But man, I think we're really high up on the Nuggets. As far as like best case scenarios, I think that's going to be. I'm super excited, so I can't wait for that. But let's talk a little bit about Summer League. I did watch a little bit of Summer League games.
Same here.
There's 3 names that 4, but one of them got hurt.
But to me, there's only one real name we got to talk about.
De'Aaron Holmes fortunately went down, and it sucks. But you know what? Best of luck to you. I'll quickly recover because we would have loved to see more of him. But 3 names that I think really stood out this year. Obviously, Julius Randle. My God, homeboy balled. He balled out for like 3 games, and the guys were like, "No, you know what? You're good. Just sit down."
I mean,
I
not
think
just
you're ready.
balled out. It was just like 20 points, 20 points, 20 points. Like he was just like
32-point game. Like, at one of those Summer League games, like he was just
on fire. And he looked like a guy who actually got real playing time last year, which he did.
Yeah.
And he looked like a guy who Summer League was but Summer League is no longer a big moment for him at all.
No. And he looked like he actually learned from the bench because, in the stints that he had last year, he had great moments. But there was moments where we were like, oh, he rookie mistakes, But it seems like he took advice from Malone. It was like, hey, learn from the bench. I know you're hurt, but just learn and learn how, like, let's see the game from a different perspective. And it really showed this summer league. Like, he knew exactly where to be, how to, because he also had some great assists also. Oh my God, homeboy balled out. Yeah. So, Julian Strawther, Trey Alexander, who's like a big surprise.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised by Trey.
I can't remember what college it came out of. It's like, I'm drawing a blank, but he was awesome as well. Him and Julian Strawther were like feeding off each other, and he can shoot as well. So if those two guys can kind of crack the rotation, I mean, Trey Alexander in particular, if he can crack the rotation, I think that'll be awesome. You had another shooter, you had another young,
I would step back from that a little bit. So there's two scenarios where he cracks the rotation. They're both the best from worst case. Worst case scenario is he cracks the rotation because everybody else is just they're not performing.
Yeah.
They're not doing, the bench is as bad as we mentioned.
Yeah.
And they just got to put somebody in there.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is we were getting tons of garbage minutes because we were blowing teams out, and homeboy gets
to see a little bit more of him.
Yeah. So because to me, in reality, that bench isn't going to be very deep this year.
Yeah.
And for a player like that to get minutes, it's going to have to be one of those two scenarios. Things have to be so bad that we're throwing bodies in.
That is true.
Or things have to be so good that we have the extra minutes.
I would like for the Nuggets to obviously sign him on,
like a two-way.
Like a two-way. Keep him on the bench just for, it's like a break case scenario. But hey, maybe he does get a little bit of playing time here and there. Because Russell Westbrook is getting a little old, and he is like, 35, 36 years old. So, maybe he needs a little rest here and there and a couple of games here and there. And maybe we'll see Trey Alexander along with Julian Strawther, kind of manning that backcourt. Another name that I really liked from Summer League is PJ Hall, a power forward, big dude from Clemson, unfortunately. Sorry, Kyle. But hey, he's really good, man.
Between him and Hunter Tyson, I'm sitting here like,
Hunter Tyson, man. Oh, dude, Hunter Tyson, I don't know what's going to happen with him. He looked a little better the last two games in Summer League. He looked a little bit more like himself. But PJ Hall, he's just a big dude. He reminds me a little bit of like Aaron Gordon, like just how wide he is. He's not like built, but like just wide. Definitely has good hops. And he's just solid. He's just like a solid. He seems to like rebound very well. Rebound positioning is he seemed to do it very well during Summer League. So those are the three names for me that I think really stood out. And PJ Hall in particular, I hope he cracks the rotation because the power forward
the backup
depth is not as good as.
Well, it depends. If Sars cements himself, I think Zeke is a more natural power forward. His first couple years in the league,
dude,
when he was at the
Zeke is gone, dude.
I could see that too.
I think he's gone.
I could see that,
and that's why I'm saying PJ Hall would be a great fit.
I don't know if anybody takes that contract, and we can't just cut him.
Yeah.
So
it's not the worst contract, but it is going to
take his position.
It is going to take some wheeling and dealing to get rid of him.
And not his position on the court, but the actual position that he is within the team and with what other teams are looking for and the money is being paid.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
That was a bit of a dumb signing, honestly. But, hey, maybe Zeke turns out to be good. But we've been saying that for the last few years.
For me, though, is Zeke's best performances is when he's in the 4 spot. When he's not asked to be the center. When he's allowed to kind of play his more natural position, he plays better.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think Zeke is going to get traded, like... by the middle of the year. I think he's gone.
To be honest,
him and Hunter Tyson are gone.
I don't disagree that he could be a trade deadline kind of piece.
He's going to be a trade line deadline
because he's going to be a piece. It's going to be
match salaries.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, if we do something at deadline, and we have to see how the first part of the season goes. But like he would be a piece because the other thing too is I just don't know. We don't have pieces to give up for trades right now.
Yeah,
I mean. And any pieces we would give up outside of Zeke, it's going to hurt us.
I don't think it's going to be like a player for player. I think it'll be a player for like a salary and then picks to get back.
But the thing is, we have no picks. We've gutted our.
No. For us to receive some picks.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? I
do think he's gone.
I do too. I just don't know that when he'll be gone.
Yeah.
And so for you to talk about, sorry. Dude from Clemson.
Oh, it's PJ Hall.
Yeah, PJ Hall. For you to talk about PJ Hall cracking the rotation, once again, that's one of those best case, worst case scenarios. And you're talking about, you see the worst case there at that position. Not for the bench unit as a whole, but at that position, you see the worst case is pretty much Zeke continues to be the Zeke we saw last year. And by the middle of the season, we just have to make a change in that power forward.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to end up happening. But, hey, I mean, Nuggets... It seems like they've reloaded. It seems like I think the vibes are gonna completely change with kind of like the season starts, because it feels like it's been so long.
Right.
But we finally get some basketball in the Olympics, so we finally get to see our boy Jokic, our boy Jamal Murray, our only two Nuggets. Obviously, Team USA, but our two Nuggets are in the Olympics. And have you been watching a little bit of Olympics?
I watched some of the qualifiers last week. I haven't watched anything. I watched the Serbia game, the one that was really close that they won last week. I forgot who it was against.
That was probably Greece.
Yeah, I think it was it's one that Jokic really wanted. It was like the first time I've seen him fired up at all in these qualifiers, and I haven't watched Canada, but at the same time, I really haven't watched USA. I did tune into the end of the game against Sudan when it was like, oh, y'all actually might lose.
They might lose.
You might lose. But at the same time, for some reason, I really have not been fired up about this Olympics in basketball.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched some Canada today, and our boy Jamal Murray didn't look. He had a couple of good moments here and there, but boy, he just doesn't. He seems like he's trying to fit into this team because it's he didn't play in the FIBA.
But also, like, him and Shea kind of play the same position, so it was kind of like them.
Yeah, they're using Jamal a little bit more like off ball.
Like it's kind of like an unnatural fit.
They're using him more like a shooting guard as opposed to a point guard.
So it's kind of an unnatural fit for him.
Yeah, he had a bad minus. I think it was like -10 whenever Murray was on the floor. But hey, it's the Olympics. Like, it's these are all just jumbled up teams, and they don't have like that much practice time. So it just seems like maybe he'll get it going. But hey, Jokic. He's gonna look. I'm excited to see Jokic tomorrow. They play USA tomorrow, Sunday. I think it was like 9 in the morning or something like that. They play. So I'm definitely gonna be watching that. I just want to see how our boy Jokic plays, and I'm excited for that. But I
mean, I'll definitely root for our boy. I don't expect a lot of this Olympics.
No, and I just pray nobody gets hurt. That's it. Like Murray, play whatever you want to play, but don't get hurt, Murray, please.
And to me, this is not just Nuggets players. All the players don't get hurt,
don't get hurt, please.
Because I mean, I know the Olympics are a great exhibition, but let's be honest.
That's not where they make their money.
We need Giannis and LeBron.
We need
Steph,
the stars.
Jokic, Luka.
Yeah.
All these guys. We need them next fall in the NBA.
I'm sure their agent are telling them the same thing. Dude, just don't get hurt, man.
You don't get paid for this shit.
You don't get paid for this. You might get paid a little bit, but you make the money in the NBA.
Not NBA money.
Yeah, it's not NBA money, but no, man, it's gonna be fun, and hopefully, I mean, you got to root for Team USA, obviously, but I'm kind of rooting a little bit for Team Canada to have a little bit of success. Mostly Jamal's success, because
I don't know. I might be rooting for a little bit of Team Serbia.
I'll definitely be rooting for Team Serbia tomorrow to a certain extent.
To a certain extent. I know.
Anytime Jokic touches the ball and be like, yes, get it, Jokic, you do something. So that's going to be my thing. So
yeah.
But anyways, dude, thank you so much for joining me again on this awesome
no problem. Anytime.
On this podcast, and like cheers. And I also have let me see, I'll have like our partners in Austin, who've been incredibly quiet, and they've been super awesome. So they've just been like chilling here while we talk Nuggets. But no, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I know we haven't done a podcast in a while, and I took like a nice little hiatus, but it's back. NBA is kind of starting to pick up a little bit, and obviously we have basketball in the Olympics, so I figured why not? Let's hang out, let's do a podcast and drink some beers.
And when we signed Westbrook, of course I called you up and was like, hey dude, you gotta bring me back on.
I told you, bro. I told you.
Hey, I was right. We have it on video.
Yeah, we have it on video. So hey, it was this guy. He called it first. So anyways, thank you so much for watching Nuggets and Brews, everybody. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, wherever you get your podcast or whatever stuff. So anyways, my name is Ruben, aka Misa, Kyle, and all right, see you, Colorado. Cheers.